In example B, we're going to have to do a little bit of work before we can get to the part that we were at in example A. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to isolate the cosine of x right here. And so what we would do, first of all, is we would subtract over our 1 so that we get square root of 2 cosine x is equal to -1, and then divide both sides by the square root of 2 so that we get cosine of x is equal to -1 over square root of 2, which you'll probably recognize better as its rationalized form, negative square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so now we are looking for all of the angles between 0 and 2 pi where cosine of x is equal to negative square root of 2 over 2. And so what we'll first of all do is figure out the quadrants where this happens. And so what two quadrants is cosine negative square root of 2 over 2? Well, it has to be in quadrant 2 and in quadrant 3, because in 1 and 4, cosine is positive. And so we're going to put angles here in quadrant 2 and quadrant 3. And the reference angle that we want here is going to be the reference angle where cosine is root 2 over 2. And so we can see here, cosine is root 2 over 2 at pi over 4. And so that's what we're going to put as the reference angle in quadrant 2 and 3. So, remembering that this is pi, in order to get our angle in quadrant 2, we're going to go backwards pi over 4, which means that we'll subtract pi over 4 from pi. So, pi minus 1/4 of a pi is going to give us 3/4 of a pi, or 3 pi over 4. Then, for quadrant 3, we're going to go from pi and add pi over 4, and so then pi plus pi over 4, or pi plus 1/4 of a pi, is going to give us 5 pi divided by 4. If we look at letter C, we've got tangent x is equal to positive square root of 3. And so what we see is that square root of 3 is one of our values for the angle pi over 3 for tangent of x. And so we know that will be our reference angle, but before we get there, we need to decide what quadrants our answer is going to be in. Looking at our acronym, All-Star Trig class, we see that in quadrant 1, tangent is positive, and in quadrant 3, tangent is positive. And so I'm going to have an angle in quadrant 1 and in quadrant 3. Let's put our reference angle, which again we said was pi over 3. Remember that the reference angle is always back to the x-axis. And so in quadrant 1, we will just be starting from 0 and going up pi over 3. And so that will just be the easy answer of pi over 3. In quadrant 3, we'll be starting at pi and going forward pi over 3. And so pi plus pi over 3 will be pi plus 1/3 of a pi, or 4 pi over 3.